Hi, Karen with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a scrapbook layout for Scrap the Boys Challenge, and we are all about being challenged by flower love this month. And I am no stranger to putting flowers on my boy layouts, and so this challenge was completely in my wheelhouse. I had a heap of fun creating this one. I've gone a little bit grungy, but it was perfect in terms of pulling this one together in the collection that I used, and I think it's a perfect match to my photo and what I was really trying to aim for. The collection that I'm using today is from Bprderline, which is an Australian company, and the collection itself is called Embrace Change, and it has some beautiful tones in this collection. It has beautiful creams and some dusky pinks and greens and some mustardy yellows. It is absolutely gorgeous. And this pattern paper that I decided to use as my background is very much already a mixed media layout. You know, you really don't need to do anything, but I did need to do something. I mean, it is me. I've got to put some mixed media on the page if I can. So I wanted to enhance it just a little bit. So to do that, I'm using one of the Bprderline stamps as well called Wing Fragment. And I'm using some archival ink because in case I want to put some water on this later, I don't want the stamping to sort of mush around the page. And I just randomly place that around the page. At this stage of the layout, I'm thinking I'm going to go for a vertical layout. Now that does change. If you've seen the final product, you would know that that's changed. I went to horizontal. And I also wanted to add some dimension. So I am using the stencil called Bprderline A4 Stencil. And I'm just using the section with these gorgeous circles, rough circles, rustic type circles, however you want to say it. And I'm just smushing through my modelling paste. The modelling paste I'm using there is Montmartre, and it is absolutely my favourite. It is creamy, and I've had that big jar for ages, and it has never dried out. It hasn't. It's fantastic. It is definitely one of my favourites. Now I wanted to bring in some different tone to the layout here. So I know that my pattern papers that I've chosen have sort of some rustic browns and really creamy colours. So I want to give a bit of a contrast, but because I also want to throw in a tone match to the photo of Jacob. He's wearing a blue shirt, and he's in a bit of a shaded spot, so it looks quite blue, really dark. So the colour that I put over there with my water, with my packaging technique, I've used one of my favourite products from Colour Blast Bprderline is the Colour Shimmer Dust. Now it's like magic. I love it. It comes in a little pot. It's all this little grainy powder, and it's often grey, and you've got no idea other than the fact that there's a colour written on the container what it's going to look like. It's just beautiful. And I've used the colour navy. So I just popped that onto some packaging and sprayed it with some water and allowed that water to create that gorgeous colour. And then I just used the packaging technique, so tapping it down across the page. And one of the good things about the Bprderline pattern paper is it's quite thick, so it's got a really good grain to it. I don't know what the grain thickness is, but it does allow for you to be able to put some mixed media, some inks and sprays onto the page without it really soaking all the way through. It is really, really fantastic. So I didn't use any gesso or anything like that. The modelling paste also allowed it to... It forms a bit of a resist, so that allowed that as well. So you would have seen there that I experimented a little bit on using that vertical look, and it just didn't work for me. So I went to a horizontal. So the only thing I needed to accept there was the patterned paper that I'd used for the background had some sort of faint sort of stamped writing on it, so it turned into not being on the right side, but I didn't care. Because you can't tell what the words are anyway. Well, I couldn't anyway. And it was really just for the look anyway. And it was definitely much better. Now that I'm even watching this back, I'm definitely glad I moved and changed to that horizontal view for the layout. I backed my photo as well with some of the pattern paper. more in that sort of a lighter tone, because I've used that darker brown pattern paper and the photo was getting a little bit lost. So it definitely needed just a little bit of a backing, which I've also distressed the edges for. I realised that I wanted to do a little bit more to the background. I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle. So I've added here some gold splatters around the page, and that is just with some Kaiser Craft gold ink, I think it's called. And then I also used some of the Colour Blast in, I think it's navy as well, I'm not sure. I didn't write it down. I think that's what it was. It was one of their colour sprays, and I just used the nozzle to dab down some splatters. I'm just picking up some of those splatters as well with some paper towel. And I just love that, just that added extra little bit of sparkle and shine to that background. I just love how that background turned out. I have popped up that my torn pieces of patterned paper, and I've also distressed the edges, both with my fingers and with my distressing tool as well. I really wanted those edges to be nice and distressed. So I've popped that up on some cardboard, and I'm also going to stick that down with some wet glue, which is really, really important when you've used some mixed media. It's a really good idea to use wet glue. It means it'll stick there forever. If you use tape, it tends to jump up and it won't stay on. And I've used my T-square ruler to make that as straight as I possibly could. And when I say that, as much as you could, considering I'd distressed the edges, but I did want that to be in a reasonable spot across the page. So onto my embellishing. I really was inspired initially by those gorgeous leaf fronds there. I loved the curve that they gave, and that gave me the idea to create that cluster, that it sort of gives that arc around the photo. And I really love, and I think that's why it didn't work when I was using it as a vertical. I hope I've made some sense today. So all I've done here now to create that cluster is just added some layers and layers of fussy cut out flowers from some of the patterned paper and some fussy cut out leaves, and just extended that a little bit just to give it that really beautiful arc around the photo. My title is simple as today. I've just gone with a little bit of cutout from one of the patterned paper pieces as well. I've distressed the edges, and I've also popped that up on a little bit of card as well, just to pop that up on the page. And I did also put some cardboard underneath the photo as well. So it's really dimensional, because I wanted to be able to nestle and tuck in some of those flowers as well. And that's pretty much it for my layout today. So once it all came together around me deciding whether it was going to be vertical or horizontal, it all came together really, really quickly, and I really love how this one turned out. I'll leave all the description in the description below, all the information on how you can join us this month. We would love it if you entered the challenge and shared your creations in the Facebook group. And here are some close-ups. And as always, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I really appreciate your time spent with me, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.